Taking a little break from the Falcons head coaching search, I wanted to discuss the NFL draft. We have some mock drafts from Mel Kiper. There was an article on ESPN where they talked about, the biggest questions for the top 10 teams in the draft. And Michael Rothstein's for the Falcons was, are they for sure going to draft a defender? And obviously the answer to that is no, because whether Terry Fontenot is involved or not, the process should always be best player available. And what I really wanted to discuss here is just how talented the other side of the ball is. Now, Dallas Turner is a great player, could be a top 10 pick. Terrion Arnold, Jared Verse. There are a few guys that could be selected in the top 10. But if you're looking strictly at the Falcons' needs on both sides of the ball, I mean, Brock Bowers, I know you don't need a tight end, but Brock Bowers is one of the best just overall prospects I've seen in quite some time. If he's available at 8, I don't care that you got Kyle Pitts. Run 2 tight end sets, move Kyle Pitts to wide receiver full time. I don't care what you do. That's a guy that you can find a role for on this team. Then you go to the tackles. Listen, Jake Matthews, he ain't getting any younger. Caleb McGarry, we don't even know how much longer he's going to be with the team. Joe Alt, Fashanu, there's a lot of guys there. Wide receivers, you need to pair someone with Drake London. You got Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. The offensive side of the ball in this draft, if it goes quarterback, you're going to have a ton of blue chip prospects available for the Falcons.
Yeah. The first 10 selections in the draft very well could be all offensive players. And that's to say that the 10 best players in the draft could be offensive players. And obviously, like you said, there's guys like Dallas Turner, the UCLA edge. I don't want to mistake his name. Latu. He's injury history, but still a heck of a player. Dallas Turner, we obviously know his pedigree out of Alabama. I think that, it looks like it's going to be Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. That's what everybody thinks. And if it isn't that order, it's going to be some order of quarterback. I think Falcons fans should pretty much just write off quarterbacks because Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, any quarterback that you think could potentially maybe, no. All of those quarterbacks are going to be reached on. It's not going to be a fit, especially if we draft Bill Belichick. If we bring in Bill Belichick, I know we're going away from the coaching. It's not going to be a quarterback, folks. So I think that, if you're a Falcons fan and you're into the draft, you should start looking into some of these other prospects because there's a ton of guys to get excited about. And like you said, I don't care if he's a tight end. Brock Bowers is a better prospect coming out of college than Kyle Pitts was, and we took him 4th overall. Obviously, that hasn't, materialized like many people had thought, especially after a record-breaking rookie season from Kyle Pitts. But injuries, terrible quarterback play really hindered him from realizing his full potential. And the same is going to happen with Brock Bowers. If we draft Brock Bowers, he's the best player on the board. Nothing's going to be fixed regardless of who we draft until we fix the quarterback position. So it doesn't matter who we draft at 8 this upcoming April until we fix the quarterback position, whether it's a tackle, one of the 2 tackles, like you said, another skill position player. That'd be 4 straight top 10 draft picks spent on a skill position player. I don't have an issue with it. My issue is what are we going to do at the quarterback position? That's going to be the question. As soon as the head coaching question is answered, the next question is going to be, okay, whoever's hired, what are you doing at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously if there's ever, and it might just be a sliver of possibility, but if there is any possibility where we get to 4 and one of those quarterbacks is available, the Atlanta Falcons have to be doing everything possible to draft up. And if the Bears somehow make the number 1 overall pick, same thing. I mean, if there's an opportunity to get one of these three quarterbacks, which we both don't think there will be because they're 3 really, really good quarterback prospects. And what do quarterback prospects do? They go 1, 2, 3 in the draft. I mean, Zach Wilson and Trey Lance were drafted 1, 2, 3. You got to think that these guys will be drafted 1, 2, 3. So if there's any possibility, though, for sure, go out and get your guy because that's what the Falcons need most. But this team has so many holes. I mean, first of all, our defense obviously made strides. There's no doubt that there's still holes. You need a pass rusher. You need a cornerback. A linebacker looks pretty good. But outside of that, I mean, even safety. I know you're not going to probably take a safety. There's no safeties, I think, going to be in the range. But there are plenty of holes on the defense side of the ball. There's plenty of holes on the offensive side of the balls. I mean, like I said, the 2 tackle spots the future is very cloudy there. The wide receiver, you don't really have one. And even Kyle Pitts, I mean, if you think 2-3 years down the road, Do you know Kyle Pitts is going to be on the roster? I mean, I don't think that's a slam dunk guarantee. So, I mean, there's holes everywhere, except for running back. If we take a running back 8th overall, we can all get pissed.
Listen, the fact of the matter is the best teams in the league. Like I said in the last segment, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on the YouTube, Sports Talk ATL. All of our content is on the YouTube. Subscribe, like, we always appreciate it. Listen, if you want to be the best, if you want to be with the best organizations, and I do believe the Falcons have done it thus far, is you just take the best player that's going to be there. And that doesn't mean physically. It means, culturally, mentally, obviously, physically, as the best fit for your team at the time, regardless of position. And there's no better example of that than the Baltimore Ravens. They constantly do it. Ozzie Newsome really popularized the BPA, best player available draft philosophy. And now a lot of teams do it. And a lot of teams find success. You build through the draft, and then you round out the roster through free agency. It's a simple formula, and I expect the Falcons to do it again this year.
Yeah, and that's what the Falcons are going to do. I mean, free agency occurs before the draft. So a lot of these holes that we're talking about are going to be filled in some form or fashion. And your job is to fill as many of those needs as you possibly can so you aren't forced into a hole during the draft where you feel like you have to go get an edge rusher. You have to go. Now, quarterback's a different thing because you need a quarterback no matter what. But every other position, you fill all those needs as best as you possibly can.
All right, let me ask you a question. Top guy right now, assuming it goes quarterback.
Like for the Falcons at 8th?
For the Falcons at 8, top guy.
I mean, am I going to homer it here and say Malik Neighbors? I mean, I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a superstar wide receiver. I really do. And I have no problems doing the whole skill position thing. But I wouldn't mind someone like Joe Alt. I wouldn't mind because I think the offensive line has been such a strength for the Falcons. And you've seen how a good offensive line can propel you from week to week, even with bad quarterback play, which we've seen over the last 2 seasons. So I wouldn't mind something like that. I do think Jake Matthews is reaching the end of the road, and I do not think Caleb McGarry is here past next season. So definitely wouldn't mind something like that either.
Yeah, I think I would actually flip them. Both of us are LSU guys. I think Malik Neighbors is the top wide receiver other than Marvin Harrison. And I think that there could be a conversation to be had depending on where the pair land, just what their career trajectories look like. I mean, Malik Neighbors, there is no weakness in this guy's game. Short routes, intermediate routes, deep routes, contested catches after the catch. I mean, Malik Neighbors is a superstar, but I think, Joe Alt should be in line for a top 3 pick, but since it's a quarterback needy league, he's going to fall. And I think Joe Alt is like a top 3 prospect in this draft. He's that good. He's a freak.
Yeah, I mean, and if you can get a guy like that and stabilize one of the most important positions that doesn't get talked about enough in left tackle, you go from Jake Matthews to Joe Alt. I mean, you've done a damn good job there for 2 decades at one of the most important positions in the game. Just about the opposite you've done on the edge.
It's the third most important position in sports. You can really, you need a quarterback. You need people who can pressure the quarterback, and then you need somebody who can protect the quarterback. Those are the 3 most important positions in this league. I mean, the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl because they couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes. That's simple.
We got to go to break, though. Coming up after the break, we're going back to the head coaching search. We're going to talk about that man, Raheem Morris.